Parshas Acharei and Kedoshim, double header. We're in the third reading. Let's get right into it, because we're into it.
Coffee was good this morning, here, Rabbi.
Baruch atah Adonai melech haolam, shakim baruch. Good is good, isn't better?
Extra strength caffeine.
Chaim v'bracha.
Fine.
We're Vayikra, Leviticus chapter 17, verse 8. So we are about offerings. Okay, V'aleim Tamar, and to them you shall say, Ish, man, meaning anyone, mi Beis Yisrael, from the house of Israel, or from the convert who dwells amongst you, asher yala oila zevach, that will offer an ascent offering or any other type of sacrifice. Again, it's speaking about, as we'll see, from outside the courtyard, right? In a place you're not supposed to bring the offering. That's what we were talking about yesterday. We continue on. Today's learning is for the yort site of our dear Amram's father, Moshe ben Binyamin. May his neshama have an aliyah.
Amen.
Okay. Asher yale oila. So when he offers an ascent offering, Rashi an 8. This is talking about over here that you burn the limbs or the organs outside the grounds of the Beis HaMikdash or the Mishkan, right? Outside the courtyard where you're supposed to. Like one who slaughters an offering outside of the grounds. That if one person slaughtered and another person offered the limbs or the organs, they're both held liable. They're both liable. That's the point over here, right?
Yeah.
Because the verse is saying over here, Asher Yala Oila, that he brings it up, meaning he is offering it, right? So the one offering it on the altar that's in the wrong place, and the one that slaughtered it in the wrong place are liable. Okay, verse number 9. El Pesoel Mayed, and to the entrance of the tent of meeting, Lo Yibin La Lashem. Right? In other words, you're supposed to bring it to the tent of meeting, right? Mm-hmm. And he didn't bring it there, Lashem, to do it for the sake of God, an offering to God. And this person will be cut off from his people. Rashi nichras, Zara nichras v'yamav nichrasim. It means his offspring will be cut off and his days are cut off. In other words, it's premature death. Right. When you don't do the offerings in the appropriate place. Right?
Yeah.
Verse number 10. Ish mi Beis Yisrael. Man, meaning any man from the house of Israel, or from a convert that converted amongst them, Asher Yoichal. Agar, who resides on dwells amongst them, Asher Yoichal kol dam, that eats any blood. he consumes blood from, I don't know if it means from his from an offering here or any, I'm not certain. We'll see Rashi. And I will put my my face in that person, in that individual, meaning I will give my attention. Because where's your attention? Where your face is, right? That's where you put attention to a person in their face. You look at their face, you can benevish, and that person who ate the blood, who consumed blood, and he will be cut off from his people. Rashi in 10, kol dam, any blood, since it says that the blood is what brings atonement, one might think that you shouldn't be liable. Only the blood of the animals that are consecrated, that blood that brings atonement. Therefore, if you ate that blood, or then you would be liable. Talmud Leimer, but the verse says, kol dam, any blood. In other words, it's not just for sacrifices, right? When I read the verse, I questioned, what is it speaking about? Is it speaking about sacrifices? Is it speaking about, and Rashi said, because it says all blood, it means not just sacrifices, any animal and of the blood, right? That's why we salt meat in order to bring out the blood. We put it on on a I don't know what you call it exactly.
You don't fry liver in a pan. You have to fry it in an oven so the blood drips off.
Or it's on a place where it drips, right? Exactly. And the Sati Panay and I will direct my face, Panay Shali, meaning my attention. I will turn away from all my concerns. I say, boy, and I'll deal with him. Pretty strong words. Very strong words. Now, so now the verse, it's interesting, it explains what is going on here. Because the kinefesh habasar, because the soul of the flesh, badam, is in the blood. And I have given to you the altar, to bring atonement for your soul, because the blood of the soul will bring atonement, meaning of the animal, right? The blood of the animal is going to bring atonement, right? So that's where the blood is meant to go in a positive way, not person consuming it. Rashi in 11, because the soul of the flesh, shekol bria, because every creature, badam hu hitluya, its blood, it's what the life of the animal is dependent on. Therefore, I've decreed that where does that blood belong of the animal? On the altar. To atone for man's soul. Let the soul of an animal come, and atone for the soul of man. So the blood of an animal is meant for the altar to bring atonement, and not for someone to consume it. Al Kain. Therefore, Amarti Libnei Israel, I've said to the children of Israel, Kol nefesh mikem, every person from you, every soul from you, Lo yiseichel dam, do not consume blood. And the convert who dwells amongst you, Lo yeichel dam, should also not. Kol bas nefesh mikem lahazu gedelim al ktanim. So why does it say Kol nefesh, every soul? Why not say Kol ish? Ish means an adult, because it doesn't mean just an adult. This comes to tell us that the adults have to warn or are responsible to take care of the minors, that they also should eat blood, consume blood. Got it? Verse 13, V'ish ish mi b'nei Israel, a man, any man from the children of Israel. It's interesting how sometimes it says Beis Israel, and here it says mi bnei Israel. Before it said from the house of Israel, now it says from the children of Israel, right? Why the difference? I don't know, and it doesn't seem to be a question in simple meaning of the text, because Rashi doesn't address it. Seemingly, maybe I'm mistaken. And with the convert who dwells amongst you, say, who will trap wild animals, chaya, say chaya, or oif, or fowl, that could be eaten, meaning it's permissible to eat. And you spill its blood, and then when you spill its blood, right, you have to cover its blood with offer with dust. If anybody did kaparis, so when you do kaparis, right, when you do it on the eve of Yom Kippur, so you have a sheichet there, right, and then you have some sawdust over there that is used, and you make a bracha al kisi dam ba'afar. This is a place of this mitzvah that you have to cover the blood of fowl and wild animal, not a cow, which is domesticated, so to speak, not a wild beast, but just right.
Around your head.
Yeah, that's not what we're talking about in here, though.
I know, this is visualized.
Yeah, you're just giving color commentary.
Yeah.
All right, 13 in Rashi, Yotsu, that you will trap. Ainly, that's odd. So this phrase is speaking about that the command to cover blood, right, applies only when you trap an animal. Of Zon, Tarnagal. Where do I know the domesticated animals that are like geese and chickens? You don't need to trap them. A wild animal you need to trap, right? But geese and chickens you don't need to. Talmud Leimar Tzayid, a catch, which implies Mikol Makom any sort of circumstance. In other words, Tzaid. The verse says Yotzu Tzaid, you trapped a trapping. So the word Tzaid means something like it's trapped already. What does it mean it's trapped already? Because it's domesticated, so it's not a wild animal that goes, wild, and therefore you need to trap it. This is an animal that's considered already trapped. Talmud Leimar Tzaid, that's why it says a catch. Mikol Makom, in any circumstance. If that's the case, Lama Nemar, Hashem Yotzu. The wise have to say that you will trap. That one should not eat meat unless it is with this preparation.
Preparation for blood, you mean?
Aha. In other words, it's telling us a side thing. You should not overly eat meat. How do you know that? How do you know that?
Kidney.
You say kidneys here in the verse?
You asked me a question.
No, where in the verse do you see it? We're learning Chumash and Rashi. We're not learning David and David's health issues. You should be gesund and well, David.
How many?
So where do we know? Because it says here trap. You don't need to say trap that you have to cover the blood for trapping, because even if it's not trapped, you have to, right? Like domesticated. So it's superfluous to say trap. So it's coming to tell you that animals eat them when they're prepared, like in trapping. In other words, not like not like that it's just common there. Just like trapping is an effort that you need to work to prepare. So likewise here, in eating meat, it should be only when it's prepared, in the sense that for a glass of water you need to prepare, because it's common. You got to work for it, so it's not a common thing that you will eat at all times. It doesn't mean so much about, but the effort, it means only eat it occasionally. Just like trapping is not something that's done every at any given moment, right? So eat it occasionally. That's the inference.
Not like eating bread.
Not like eating bread, right? It's not so much about yeah. It's interesting. That you can be eaten, meaning excluding the unfit animals for consumption. Others, non-kosher animals, right? In others, you only cover the blood when you slaughter the animal when it's foul or wild animal, right? Not a cow. You don't. That's what the verse said. And not an unkosher animal because it's not fit to eat. 15 or 16, 15, yeah. Okay. And any person who eats a nevela. A nevela means a carcass that died.
You skipped something. You didn't do 14.
I didn't do 14?
You skipped 14. You skipped 14.
Oh, thank you. You're right. I did. Thank you very much. 14. Because the soul of every living flesh, damai, is its blood. Benavshahu, its soul it is. I live in Israel and I say to the Israelites, Dam kol basa, the blood of all living flesh. Lo seichlu, don't eat. Lo seichelu, do not eat. Kinefesh kol basa damai he, because the soul of every living flesh is in its blood. Kol eichla dikaris. Anybody eats it will be cut off. Rashi, it seems to be redundant. The blood represents life. The blood serves it. In the place of life. Because its life is dependent on blood. Because the life of the flesh is in its blood. The life is the blood. Blood and flesh are masculine terms, and nefesh lashon nekeva is a feminine term.
Are they saying you should eat the soul, basically?
Well, you're eating the soul by eating the blood. That's why you're not allowed to.
So you shouldn't eat the soul.
Which is its blood, exactly. Exactamo. 15. And I don't know. I don't know why he says that. Good question. It was also. I don't know why. Why is it? I mean, he's pointing out something, but to what end? To what we should understand maybe the grammatic understanding of the verse. I don't know what it's meant to show. Okay, 15. Good question. Whole nefesh, any person, asher teichal, that will eat nevela. Nevela means an animal that died without slaughter, or was slaughtered and it was not slaughtered properly, right? In other words, it didn't die through proper slaughtering, right? In other words, another animal killed it, and it's, or for example, utreifa. Treifa means that it's unhealthy animal that will not live out for 12 months. Ezrach, with a native Jew, ger, or a convert, he has to wash his clothes, meaning the clothes have to go to the mikvah, they became impure. And also he has to wash himself in water, meaning go to the mikvah. Then he's impure until the evening. V'taher, and then he becomes pure. Kirashi. 15. Asher teichal nevela utreifa. The eats that which died or was mauled. Nivlas ha'oifator dibra kasu. Speaking here of an unslaughtered carcass of a kosher bird. She'ein la tuma. Which transmits no impurity. Ella bisham. Rather in the time nivlas when it is swallowed. The base of liya in the throat. So the Torah comes to teach you here, shemitama, that it transmits impurity b'achilosa by eating it. How do you become impure? When you eat this unkosher, right, bird, and it does not transmit impurity through touching it, right? That's what the verse is coming to say. Only by eating it, it transmits impurity. Utreifa amurakan, and the mauled animal that we're speaking about over here, is only written to be expounded. Okay. So we learn. One might think that an unslaughtered carcass of a bird of a non-kosher species should transmit impurity, the base of blia, through swallowing it in the throat. Talmud Laimar, but the verse says otherwise. Utreifa, mauled, to imply that such impurity applies only kashiyesh bemina when there has a specific halachic class of a treifa of a mauled animal, yotza oif, tame, which excludes a non-kosher bird, shem bemino treifa, that there is whose species has no halachic class of a mauled animal. A mauled animal means that it's unhealthy animal, right? Because it got mauled, right? It got mauled by a wild animal, and it lives, but it's not going to live through 12 months. So it's an unhealthy animal. That's what treifa means, right?
Yeah.
Right? We think treif means just not kosher, but it specifically means such an animal. Now, by a bird, you don't have this law. It's only by a cow you have this, or by a goat, a sheep, you have this concept, right? Of a treifa. So if you're speaking about birds over here, why is it saying mauled? To come and tell us that you only get impure if it's a kosher bird that was not slaughtered and you ate it, you become impure through the act of eating it, not through the act of touching it.
Same thing.
No. But if you touch it, if you touch that bird,
Yeah, you're not.
but you didn't eat it, you're not impure, right? A carcass of an animal, you are though,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Not of a bird. Only by eating. That's the point. Okay? Got that? $16. We're good?
I thought like only by contact, not a part which was found by contact, we're talking about the animal here.
Yeah.
If it's a fowl or a fish or anything species.
Okay, we'll come back to it. Now we're going to continue. 16. And if you do not immerse your garments and immerse yourself into the mikvah, you bear the consequence of the sin. Rashi. And also, and you bear the consequence. If you're going to eat now something holy, or yechanetzik mikdash, or you're going to go into the base of mikdash, the holy temple, you are liable for kares to be cut off from Hashem with this impurity, just as you are with other impurities. You bear the iniquity. What's the iniquity? That you get a cut off premature death. If you don't immerse into the mikvah, you bury the iniquity. For not immersing his body on ishkaris, you have karis. Keep us begodim, but on b'malchus you get lashes. Interesting. The verse says his flesh. Why is that written? You don't have to say it, you just have to yirchatz. Why do you say his flesh? Because that's to teach us that the sin of the flesh, the person doesn't immerse themselves by eating and goes down to a holy place, then he's punished by karis. But his garments go into the grounds of the base of Mikdash, he doesn't get karis. He only gets lashes. Okay. Yeah. Now, chapter 18, verse 1. Something new. We're going to go now into many different prohibitions of relationships. That's where we're going. Okay. Hashem spoke to Moshe saying, David Bnei Israel, speak to the children of Israel, and say to them, Ani Hashem Elokeichem, I'm the Lord your God. Oh, look at that. Sounds like a 10 Commandments. Right? Ani Hashem Elokeichem Rashi, I am Hashem your God. Anihu, I am the one. Shamarati b'Sinai, that said at Sinai. Ani Hashem Elokeichem, I'm the Lord your God. Yeah, I'm the one who said it. And you accepted upon yourself Malchusim, my sovereignty. Miata, now? I'm king. Now, accept my decrees. Accept my decrees. It's one thing to accept them as king. Now he says, do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do, not this, not that. That's what we're talking about, right? That's his decrees. Rebbe said, go of God knows beforehand. That in the future, the Jewish people are going to rebel with sexual immorality. In the times of Ezra. Therefore, he confronts them right now with a decree. I am God, your God. I am Hashem, your God. Right? As if to say, do mi geizer alecha. You got to know who's decreeing, who's making the decree upon you. Dayan li pare, I who exact punishment. And pay the reward for those who are faithful and are not, don't rebel when it comes to sexual morality. Wow. 3. Like the actions of the land of Egypt that you dwelled upon. Don't do that. Like the actions of the Canaanites in the land of Canaan, that I'm bringing you, Shama, there. Don't do. And in their ways, don't. Their customs, their ways, do not follow. Rashi, Kamai said, the practices of the land of Egypt, Magi, this come to tell us that the practices of the Egyptians, and that of the Canaanites, they're the most degenerated of all nations, these two nations. Where they came and where they're going, the most degenerated of all, right? That's where Jews go, right? And in that place, Sheyashvu Israel, that the Israelites dwelled, the Kulkum and the Kol are the most degenerate of all. And in Egypt itself, and Goshen was the most degenerate of all. Asher Anechi, Asher Ani, maybe as Chamshama, that I'm bringing you there. Magid, this tells us that those nations, Israel, that the Israelites conquered, they're the most degenerate of all of them. Yeah, they were the most pagan of them all. Okay. Don't follow their statutes. So what did the verse like leave over that you know. In other words, don't follow their ways. Yeah, but we're going to go into very specific details. So what is this coming to say? Don't follow their statutes, their ways. Means their traditions. The things that are etched in their ways as their laws. Like theaters, it's dayos and stadiums, right? In other words, to attend the theaters and the stadiums, right? That's their culture. Others don't follow their culture. Meir says, these are the ways the Amorites, Shemano Chachamim, the sages have enumerated. Superstitions. So it means others don't follow their ways. Okay, number 4. Es mishpatai ta'asu, but you must do my mishpatai, my ordinances do. And my statutory laws, meaning that are beyond logic, tishmairu, heed, lalechas bahem, to follow them, in them. Ani Hashem Elokechem, I am Hashem, your God. Rashi in 4. That's mishpat tasu, carry out my judgments. Those things stated in Torah and Mishpat that are a judgment. In other words, they accord with human reason. If the Torah had not stated them, they would have been worthy to have been stated by in a human context. In other words, don't be a thief, right? And all those things, laws of business law, and so on and so forth. And my decrees observe. These are things that are a decree of the king. That the evil inclination reacts and says to them, why should we observe them? Right? They're beyond logic. They don't make sense. And not only that, the non-Jewish nations, they also react to the Jews and say to the king, for example, to eating pork, or wearing shatnez. Or the purification of the waters and sprinkling of the red heifer. That's why the verse says, "Ani Hashem, I am Hashem," which implies I have decreed upon you, and you're not permitted to exempt yourself from it, even though it's beyond logic, even though the nations of the world are kind of ridiculing you for, what are you eating kosher for? Like, that's outdated. Trichinosis, we don't have to worry about. That's what they had to worry about. Trichinosis back in the day. They didn't have refrigeration. So you're going to eat a pig? You're going to get trichinosis. Today, we don't have to worry about it. So, sayonara. Huh?
Is that rationalizing?
Exactly. To follow them, do not take leave of them, and say that you should not say that I've learned the wisdom of Israel, and now we'll go and learn the wisdom of the nations. Just stick with Chumash Rashi, with Maimer Chasidis, Tanya, Rambam, stick with the Jewish stuff. All right. Verse number 5. And you should guard and heed my statutory mishpatai and my ordinances. Asher yaseh that you should do them. Adam, the person should do. V'chai bahem, and you should live with them. Ani Hashem, I am Hashem. Interesting. Right, just says I am God. I'm Hashem, your Elokechem. I'm Hashem, your God. Just I'm God. What does it mean to live with them? Let's see, Rashi. This interesting sikh that we this week. These words. Okay. I observe my decrees. This includes the finer points of the portion. Because of the verse did not specify explicitly, because it's repeated over here, right? We just said to heed God's decrees, Why is it repeating? Means even the details that the Torah was not going to speak about here, they also have to be in davar achar. Alternative word is militin shmira v'asiya lechukim. This is giving, observing, and carrying out the decrees. In other words, there's a positive and a negative over here, and this verse is speaking about the negative. V'shmira v'asiya lemishpatim, and likewise, when it comes to judgments, there's a positive and negative. So the alternative, the chukim, this is given observing and carrying out both the negative and positive for such as and also for logic, judgments that are rational. Because only in the previously it only said a positive thing, but when it comes to judgments, and a negative thing when it comes to and others a prohibition when it comes to decrees. So now you have both positive and negative for both forms of mitzvahs. The chai b'amin should live with them. What does that mean? You're going to do it. You're going to live in the world to come. Shim Taimar, if you will say that our verse means in this world, Allah Sefa who makes in the end the person dies. So it means you're going to live with them. So that's a simple meaning. You know what the Talmud learns from here? Rambam learns from here? What do you think? Live with mitzvahs and don't die by them. In other words, that if you have to transgress to keep Shabbos and to keep alive, transgress Shabbos. But that's not simple meaning. Wow, interesting. Ani Hashem, I am Hashem. I will be faithful to pay reward. If Hashem is about reward, Elohim is about judgment. So therefore, it's only positive here, not negative, where it was before, positive and negative. Okay, verse number 6. A man, no man, shall el kol to a close relative, close of flesh, meaning relative, do not come close. Legala is to reveal erva, the nakedness. Ani Hashem, I am Hashem. Rashi in 6, sikrivu, do not approach. Lahazir nekeva, to prohibit a female kizachar like a male. Kachnem on the lashon rabbim. That's why it states in the plural. It says ish, which means any man, right? And then it says that's in singular form, right? It's singular ish. Then it says plural, sikrivu, that they should, right, in the plural. This means that these laws apply to women as they apply to men. That's what Rashi say. Ani Hashem, Neman Hashem Schar. Right. Okay. 7. The nakedness of your father, the nakedness of your mother, do not reveal. Imcha hi, she's your mother. Do not reveal her nakedness.
Noah.
Yeah. Well, he revealed his own nakedness. Excuse me. The nakedness of your father. What's the nakedness of your father? It means your father's wife. Or perhaps means the way it sounds, meaning having relations with your father. So the Torah comes and says, Neman kan ervas avicha. It says it's the nakedness of your father stated here. Neman lahalan ervas avicha gila. And later it says the nakedness of your father you have revealed. Ma lahalan eshes aviv. What does it say later? Right, it says the father's wife. So Afkan eshes avicha. Here too it means the father's wife. Okay.
So these are the customs of the Egyptians and the Canaanites.
Yeah.
They were not supposed to do.
Yeah, imcha, the nakedness of your mother, lavimai, to bring one's mother, she'ena eshes aviv, that is not the wife of his father. Right? In other words, she remarried. It's still his mother. 8. Ervas eshes, avichal esigal ervas avichal he. Now it seems to sound repetitive. The nakedness of your father's wife, don't reveal. And the nakedness of your father, it is your father's nakedness, meaning it's his intimacy. You can't, right? Rashi says, means even after your father passed away, he remarried, right? You can't have relations with that woman. It means you can't marry her, right? Means even for the sake of marriage, you can't have relations with her.
With stepmother.
With a stepmother. Exactly. Okay. We're going to stop here. Well, we're getting a taste of these laws. All right.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see you in a few moments with Tanya.
Something to look forward to.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you.